November 1978. Rue Verdun, Beirut, Lebanon. The afternoon sun filters through the lace curtains of a modest 8th-floor apartment, casting delicate patterns on the canvas stretched across Erica Chambers' easel. She stands there in a simple cotton dress, brush in hand, dabbing soft greens and blues onto a landscape of the English countryside. Rolling hills she hasn't seen in years, but remembers vividly from her childhood in Southampton. At 40, with her auburn hair tied back loosely and a smudge of paint on her cheek, she looks every bit the eccentric British expatriate she's pretending to be. Penelope, a charity worker for Palestinian orphans fond of cats and quiet evenings with her watercolors. Down on the street below, the red Volkswagen Beetle sits parked in its usual spot, unremarkable among the bustle of taxis and pedestrians. Erica glances out the window occasionally, not staring, just a casual sweep of the eyes as she mixes pigments on her palette. The apartment opposite, Georgina Risks, the former Miss Universe now married to one of the most dangerous men in the Middle East, remains quiet for now. But Erica knows the routine by heart. In the afternoons when meetings end and the city's chaos momentarily subsides, Ali Hassan Salameh often visits his wife here in Snubra. The Red Prince, architect of the Munich Massacre, Black September's charismatic operations chief, feels safe in Beirut's tangled web of militias and alliances. She sets down her brush, wipes her hands on a rag, and feeds her 2 cats, real ones, adopted from a local shelter to complete the cover. Their purring is a small comfort in the solitude. Months of this life. Mornings at the NGO office distributing aid that genuinely helps refugees. Mossad insists on authentic covers. Afternoons painting or reading. Evenings alone with encrypted reports transmitted from a hidden radio in her bedroom closet. No visitors, no close friends. Suspicion is death in Beirut. Even a harmless British spinster could draw eyes if she socializes too much. The emotional stakes weigh on her every day. Munich still burns in Israel's collective memory. The 11 athletes slaughtered in 1972, the failed German rescue, the global outrage that faded too quickly. Golda Meir, her voice gravelly from endless cigarettes, had personally authorized the expansion of Wrath of God in the years since. Hunt the planners. Make them pay. Salameh tops the list. The playboy terrorist with Western suits and a ruthless mind, protected by bodyguards, CIA connections, and the PLO's iron grip on West Beirut. Erica arrived in November on a genuine British passport, one of several agents slipping into the city over weeks. Mossad had tried 5 times before to kill Salameh. Bombs, ambushes, all failed. He was too cautious, too well guarded. This time the plan was different. Patience, proximity, invisibility. Rent an apartment with a direct view of his wife's building. Blend in as a harmless foreigner aiding the Palestinian cause. Watch. Wait. When the moment comes, signal the team. She pours tea from a chipped pot, sits by the window with a book of poetry, Yeats to remind her of home. The human cost gnaws quietly. She's far from family, from the life she left in Israel after studying hydrology at Hebrew University and being recruited in 1973. The isolation is deliberate, necessary. No one can know her real name, her Jewish roots hidden deep under layers of forged history. A wrong accent, a suspicious glance from a neighbor, and it's over. Capture means interrogation by Force 17, Salameh's own security apparatus. Torture, headlines, a diplomatic crisis. But the resolve burns brighter. She thinks of the Munich families, the widows, the children who grew up without fathers, of Israel's vulnerability, a small nation surrounded, its people still carrying the scars of the Holocaust. Salameh embodies the threat, sophisticated, connected, planning more attacks on Jews worldwide. Living across from his wife's apartment, watching his comings and goings, Erica feels the tension coil tighter each day. She's close, closer than any agent has been since the operation began. January approaches, the city buzzing with rumors of ceasefires and escalating militia fights. Erica's reports to Tel Aviv, sent in careful bursts, detail the routine. Salameh's Mercedes convoy, the bodyguards' patterns, The afternoon spent upstairs with Georgina. The team prepares the explosives, the remote trigger, the escape routes by sea. One afternoon in mid-January, as snow dusts the distant mountains, rare for Beirut, she spots the familiar black cars pulling up. Salameh emerges, tall and confident, glancing around habitually but never up at the quiet Englishwoman painting on her balcony. He disappears inside. Erica returns to her canvas, heart steady but mind racing. The moment is nearing. Months of benign presence of being the unthreatening neighbor no one suspects have built to this. She dips her brush in crimson, adding a subtle accent to the painted sky. Blood red, like the reckoning coming for the man just across the street. January 22nd, 1979. Snoubra neighborhood, Beirut. The winter rain lashes against Erica Chambers' window, turning the view of Rue Verdun into a smeared watercolor of headlights and umbrellas. She stands at her easel, brush paused mid-stroke on a half-finished scene of Beirut's coastline, deliberately vague, nothing too identifiable. The apartment has become her world these past months. The creak of the wooden floors, the hum of the ancient radiator, the cats weaving between her legs demanding attention. It's a fragile sanctuary, one wrong move from shattering. Across the street, the routine continues unchanged. Salameh's visits to his wife's apartment are clockwork, 3 or 4 times a week, always in the late afternoon when the city's traffic thins. Erica has mapped it meticulously. The convoy arrives with 3 cars, bodyguards fanning out like shadows. Salameh himself emerging from the middle Mercedes with that effortless stride, glancing briefly at the surrounding buildings, but never lingering on the 8th floor window where she watches through half-drawn curtains. Her cover holds firm. Neighbors nod politely in the lobby. The building superintendent fixes her leaky faucet without questions. She volunteers at the Palestinian Aid Center twice a week, distributing clothes and books to children from the camps, her British accent and genuine warmth disarming even the most suspicious PLO clerks. "Miss Chambers, you're a saint," they say, handing her tea. She smiles, files away their chatter for later reports, names of couriers, hints of upcoming meetings. But the isolation presses harder each day. Letters from family in England, carefully forged by Mossad, arrive sporadically, read and burned in the sink. No calls home. Too risky. She dreams of her real life, the kibbutz in Galilee where she grew up after her parents fled Germany in the 1930s, the Hebrew songs around campfires, the decision at 20 to join the IDF's intelligence unit. Mossad came calling in 1968, spotting her linguistic skills. English, German, French, and now Arabic picked up in undercover courses. They transformed her into Erica Chambers, British citizen, art student, charity worker. The name echoes a distant relative, the backstory a patchwork of verifiable details. The emotional toll is relentless. She reads about the ongoing Wrath of God operations in smuggled Israeli newspapers, the hit on Ziad Mouchassi in Athens on April 11, 1973, Wael Zweiter gunned down in Rome, Mahmoud Hamshari blown apart by a phone bomb in Paris. Each success brings quiet pride, but the failures haunt her. The Lillehammer debacle in July 1973, where an innocent Moroccan waiter was killed, tarnishing the operation and leading to arrests. She wonders about the agents involved, the guilt they carry. Her own mission feels endless. Watch, wait, signal when the perfect moment arrives. February brings a shift. On the 17th, her handler's coded message arrives via a dead drop in a park bench, a newspaper with underlined words forming instructions. Prepare package. Window view critical. The explosives have arrived, smuggled in diplomatic pouches. C4 molded to look like clay, wired to a remote detonator disguised as a car alarm fob. Erica hides it in her easel case, the weight a constant reminder. She begins timing the blasts mentally. Salameh's car parks directly below her line of sight, guards distracted by street noise. The plan is elegant in its simplicity. Remote trigger from her apartment, explosion under the chassis, escape amid the chaos to a waiting boat at the port. But risks multiply. Stray shrapnel hitting innocents, Salameh changing routine, a nosy neighbor spotting her binoculars. One evening in late February, As rain drums the roof, Erica spots unusual activity. Salameh's convoy arrives early, but he emerges with extra security. 6 men instead of 4, scanning rooftops more intently. He pauses longer on the street, eyes flicking upward. Her breath catches. Has suspicion crept in? A tip from a mole? She lowers her binoculars, heart pounding, and retreats to the kitchen, brewing tea with shaking hands. The cat scents her tension, rubbing against her legs insistently. That night, she transmits the anomaly. Increased vigilance, possible alert. The reply from Tel Aviv is terse. Hold position, confirm pattern shift. Sleep evades her. She paces the room, replaying every interaction. The polite nods from Salameh's drivers when she crosses the street. The time one bodyguard stared too long at her balcony. Paranoia is the operative's curse, but ignoring it is suicide. March dawns with fragile hope. The pattern stabilizes. Back to 3 guards, casual arrivals. Erica resumes painting. Her landscapes now incorporating Beirut's jagged skyline, a subtle rebellion against the isolation. She attends a charity event at the Commodore Hotel, mingling with journalists and aid workers, ears tuned for whispers about Salameh's movements. One British reporter mentions rumors of him traveling to Europe soon. Business with the Irish, they say. The intel aligns with her reports. Arms deals, training camps. But the human cost deepens. In quiet moments, she thinks of Salameh not as the monster who orchestrated Munich, but as the man she's seen from afar, laughing with his wife, kissing his child goodbye. The line blurs between target and person, a dangerous empathy that Mossad warns against. They're the enemy, her trainers drilled. Don't humanize. Yet in Beirut's divided streets, where Palestinians suffer as much from their leaders as from Israel, the moral ambiguity gnaws. April 4th brings the breakthrough. From her window, Erica watches Salameh arrive at 4:17 p.m. His red Volkswagen Beetle, a gift from Georgina, parked curbside instead of the usual Mercedes. Guards are down to 2, distracted by a nearby argument. He enters the building, emerges 47 minutes later, waves off his security to drive alone, a rare vulnerability. She signals immediately. Target isolated, red Beetle confirmed, window clear. Tel Aviv responds, green light, execute on next opportunity. The tension coils to breaking. Erica prepares the detonator, practicing the sequence in her mind. Wait for him to start the engine. Press the button as he pulls away. The blast will be precise, the street chaos her cover to slip to the extraction point. But as she stares across at the quiet building, rain beginning again, she feels the weight of consequence. One press, and a chapter closes. But the cycle of violence? That stretches on. April 12, 1979. Rue Verdun, Beirut. The spring air carries the scent of jasmine from the balconies below, mixing with the ever-present exhaust from the street. Erica Chambers sits at her small dining table, a cup of Earl Grey cooling beside her as she sketches in a notebook. Not landscapes today, but precise diagrams. The angle from her window to the curb, the blast radius calculated from the C4 charge now hidden beneath the chassis of the red Volkswagen parked across the way. The car arrived 3 days ago, delivered as a surprise gift for Salameh from his wife. Innocent enough on the surface, but to Erica, it was the perfect opportunity. Smaller, lighter, easier to rig without drawing attention. The insertion had been flawless. On April 9th, while Salameh was away in the south meeting militia leaders, a Mossad team posing as municipal workers had closed off the street for repairs. One agent, disguised as a mechanic, spent 20 minutes under the Beetle, planting the explosive pack against the frame, wiring it to a radio receiver tuned to Erica's detonator. She watched the entire operation from her balcony, heart in her throat, painting casually as if oblivious. No one questioned the harmless Englishwoman enjoying the sun. Now, with the device armed, the waiting game intensifies. Every afternoon she scans the street, binoculars hidden behind a potted geranium, noting the patterns. Salameh's preference for the Beetle on personal visits, the way he often drives alone to Georgina's apartment, dismissing the full convoy for privacy. The guards are laxer with the smaller car, assuming less risk. Erica's reports to Tel Aviv are daily now, burst transmissions at irregular hours to avoid detection. Target favors red vehicle, window narrowing. But the human strain deepens. In the evenings, when the city quiets and muezzins call from nearby mosques, she allows herself moments of doubt. She's seen Salameh up close through the lens, laughing on the phone, carrying groceries for his wife, the way he ruffles a street child's hair. The man who planned Munich's horrors also funds orphanages, charms journalists, dreams of a Palestinian state. The duality gnaws at her. Mossad's psychological briefings warned of this, Stockholm-like empathy for the target, but living it is different. She burns letters she writes but never sends. Confessions to no one about the moral fog. May brings escalating tension in Beirut. Christian Phalange militias clash with PLO forces in the south, rockets occasionally whistling overhead. Erica's NGO work becomes more dangerous. Aid convoys delayed at checkpoints, rumors of spies in every camp. One afternoon at the distribution center, a PLO security officer eyes her passport too long, asking pointed questions about her lone status in the city. No husband, Miss Chambers? No family visits? She laughs it off with stories of a fictional fiancé lost in the war, but the encounter leaves her rattled. That night, she moves the detonator to a new hiding spot, rehearsing escape routes in her mind. June 4th marks a close call. Salameh arrives in the Beetle, parks, and lingers on the street talking to a bodyguard. For a moment, he looks directly up at her window. Erica freezes behind the curtain, brush in hand, pretending to clean a pallet. He squints against the sun, then shakes his head and enters the building. Her transmission that night is urgent. Possible compromise. Target scanned residence. Tel Aviv's reply, no abort. Pattern holds. Proceed on confirmation. The summer heat builds, turning the apartment into a swelter. Erica loses weight, sleep fractured by the constant vigilance. She adopts a third cat for company, naming it Shadow, a small rebellion against the loneliness. Neighbors invite her to iftar dinners during Ramadan. She attends a few, careful with her cover story, gathering fragments of gossip about Salameh's frustrations with Arafat, his plans for European operations. Each piece feeds the machine back in Israel, refining the strike window. July arrives with the city on edge. Israeli airstrikes hitting PLO positions in the south. Retaliatory Katyushas raining on northern Galilee. Erica feels the war closing in, the urgency from headquarters palpable in every coded message. Execute soonest. Political window closing. She practices the sequence endlessly. Spot the Beetle. Confirm Salameh inside. Wait for him to start the engine and pull away from civilians. Then press the button. The detonator sits in her handbag now, disguised as a compact mirror. On July 17th, the pattern shifts again. Salameh begins using the Beetle almost exclusively, the Mercedes reserved for official travel. Guards drop to one or none on personal visits. Erica's reports glow with opportunity. Isolation increasing. Recommend immediate action. But the cost mounts. In quiet hours, she stares at her reflection, seeing a woman aged beyond her 40 years, eyes shadowed, hands steady, but soul weary. She's become the perfect neighbor, waving to the doorman, sharing paint tips with a Lebanese artist downstairs, invisible in her ordinariness. Yet inside, the tension is a live wire. One press of the button and Salameh dies. Justice for Munich, security for Israel, but also another death in a cycle that seems endless. August heat shimmers off the pavement. Erica tends her balcony plants, watering them slowly, eyes always drifting to the curb below. The red beetle sits there more often now, waiting like a predator's bait. She knows the moment is close. The team is ready, extraction boat at the port, safe houses along the coast. All that remains is the perfect afternoon, the solitary drive, the clear line of sight. As thunder rumbles in the distance, promising rare summer rain, Erica returns to her easel. She begins a new painting. The view from her window, the street below, the red car gleaming in the sun. A scene of calm before the storm she alone will unleash. January 15th, 1979. Rue Verdun, Beirut. The morning light slants through the lace curtains, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like tiny witnesses. Erica Chambers stands at her kitchen sink, rinsing a teacup with mechanical precision, her eyes fixed on the street below. The red Volkswagen Beetle gleams under a fresh coat of dew, parked exactly where it has been for days, driver's side facing her window, the explosive pack nestled invisibly beneath the chassis. She has memorized every detail: the slight dent on the rear fender, the Palestinian sticker on the back window, the way Salameh always adjusts the rearview mirror before pulling away. The waiting has become a living thing coiling in her chest. Months of invisibility, of being the quiet British neighbor no one suspects, have honed her patience to a razor's edge. But now, with the device armed and Tel Aviv's final go order echoing in her last transmission, execute at first clean opportunity, the anticipation is excruciating. Each afternoon, she positions herself at the easel or the window, detonator concealed in her handbag on the table beside her, ready to press the button the moment Salameh starts the engine alone. January 18th brings a false start. Salameh arrives in the Beetle at 3:42 p.m., parks, and enters Georgina's building. Erica's hand hovers over the bag, pulse steady from years of training. But he emerges with his wife and child, the family piling into the car together. She lowers her hand, exhales slowly. Collateral is unacceptable. Mossad's rules are clear: target only, minimize innocence. The car pulls away untouched, and Erica transmits the abort. Family present, stand by. The near miss shakes her more than she admits. That night, alone with the cats curled on her lap, she stares at a photograph tucked in her Bible, a faded image of her parents in pre-war Germany, smiling in a park before everything shattered. The Holocaust's shadow looms over every operation, the unspoken vow of never again driving agents like her into the dark. Salameh, with his Munich legacy, embodies the threat that must be ended. Yet watching him with his family humanizes the monster, stirring unwelcome empathy. She burns the doubt down with resolve, reminding herself of the athlete's final moments, the grenades, the fire. January 20th sees increased activity. Salameh's convoy uses the Mercedes more often, the Beetle reserved for quick visits. Rumors swirl in the aid circles. PLO tensions with Syria, Salameh negotiating arms deals. Erica attends a charity luncheon, ears sharp, picking up fragments. He's planning a trip abroad soon, perhaps Europe. The intel is gold. She transmits it at dusk, receiving confirmation. Priority remains. Window closing. Execute soonest. The strain manifests physically now. Headaches from the constant vigilance. Appetite gone. Sleep fractured by dreams of explosions that wake her in sweat. She paints furiously to cope. Violent abstracts in reds and blacks. Canvases she will destroy before leaving. The cats sense her unrest, clinging closer. In rare moments of weakness, she whispers to them in Hebrew, the forbidden language of her true self. January 21 is quiet. Salameh doesn't appear. Erica uses the day to finalize escape preparations. A packed go-bag hidden in the closet, civilian clothes for the dash to the port, a forged Lebanese ID for checkpoints. The extraction team waits on a yacht disguised as a pleasure cruiser, ready to whisk her to Cyprus, then Israel. She rehearses the sequence. Trigger the blast, wait for chaos, slip out the back entrance, melt into the crowds heading toward the Corniche. January 22nd dawns clear and crisp, the kind of Beirut winter day that feels almost peaceful. Erica rises early, brews tea, feeds the cats one last time. At 2:15 p.m., the red Beetle appears, Salameh driving alone, no convoy in sight. He parks precisely in the spot, adjusts his tie in the mirror, and enters the building. Erica's hand finds the detonator, placing it on the windowsill behind a flower pot. She waits, watching the clock tick. At 3:35 p.m., he emerges. Alone. No wife, no child, no guards trailing. He slides into the driver's seat, starts the engine, checks traffic. The street is moderately busy, pedestrians, a few cars, but clear of clusters. Erica's finger rests on the button, breath held. This is it. The clean shot months of watching have built toward. But as the Beetle begins to pull away, a delivery van parks nearby, blocking partial view. Salameh accelerates slowly, turning left toward the main road. The moment slips. Erica lowers the detonator, frustration bitter. Abort again. Transmission. Opportunity lost. Obstruction. Target mobile. Tel Aviv's reply is sharp. Do not delay further. Next window critical. The evening brings rain, drumming on the roof like impatient fingers. Erica paces, the apartment feeling smaller, the walls closing in. She's been Penelope too long, the eccentric artist, the helpful foreigner. Neighbors knock with invitations to dinner. She declines politely, citing a headache. Isolation is her shield, but it's cracking. January 22nd, 3:40 p.m. The time burns in her mind, so close. Tomorrow or the next day, the pattern will repeat. Salameh's routine is his weakness, his confidence in Beirut's safety, his downfall. She returns to the window as dusk falls, the red Beetle gone, the street emptying. The detonator waits on the table, silent and patient. Erica lights a cigarette, rare for her, and watches the rain streak the glass. The reckoning is imminent, the invisible neighbor ready to become the hand of justice. One more day, one perfect moment. January 22nd, 1979. Rue Verdun, Beirut. The afternoon sun hangs low over the Mediterranean, casting long shadows across the bustling street. Erica Chambers stands at her balcony door, a canvas half-finished on the easel behind her, strokes of ochre and sienna capturing the city's chaotic beauty. She's dressed simply, a cardigan over her dress against the winter chill, her auburn hair pinned back. To anyone glancing up, she's just the quiet English painter enjoying the light. The detonator rests in her hand now, no longer hidden, a small device disguised as a car alarm remote, its button worn smooth from practice. At 3:30 p.m., the familiar sound reaches her, the low rumble of engines approaching. She steps fully onto the balcony, paintbrush in one hand for cover, eyes fixed below. Ali Hassan Salameh's convoy appears. 2 Chevrolet station wagons this time, no Beetle today. He emerges from Georgina's building, flanked by 4 bodyguards, heading toward his mother's apartment for her birthday celebration. Salameh slides into the lead vehicle, the others piling in around him. The cars pull away slowly, turning onto Rue Madame Curie, just as the parked Volkswagen, rigged with 100 kilograms of hexagen explosive, sits directly in their path. Erica's breath is steady, years of training holding her firm. She waits for the precise moment. The convoy passing the car, clear of dense crowds, Salameh visible in the passenger seat. Her thumb presses the button. The explosion is deafening, a thunderclap that shatters windows for blocks. The Volkswagen erupts in a fireball, the blast wave hurling shrapnel and flames into the convoy. The lead Chevrolet crumples, flipping onto its side in a twisted heap of metal and fire. Screams fill the air. Pedestrians fleeing, bystanders wounded. The street transforming into pandemonium in seconds. Salameh's vehicle is devastated, 4 bodyguards killed instantly, innocent passers-by caught in the inferno. Erica doesn't watch the aftermath. She turns calmly, sets the brush down, and begins the sequence drilled into muscle memory. The cats are left with extra food, a small mercy. She gathers her go-bag, passport, cash, a change of clothes. The apartment is wiped clean, no fingerprints, no traces beyond the life of Penelope the painter. She descends the back stairs, blending into the chaos outside. Sirens wailing, crowds gathering, smoke billowing black against the sky. The extraction route is pre-planned, through back alleys to the Christian East, then to the port at Junier. A waiting speedboat whisks her and 2 other agents offshore to an Israeli missile boat lurking in international waters. As Beirut recedes, the coastline a smudge of fire and lights, Erica finally exhales. Salameh, mortally wounded with shrapnel in his skull, will die on the operating table at the American University Hospital within the hour. News spreads like wildfire. The Red Prince dead, 8 killed in total including 4 bystanders, 16 injured. Yasser Arafat attends the funeral 2 days later. 20,000 mourners chanting vengeance. The PLO vows revenge, but wrath of God claims its greatest prize anonymously. Israel breathes a measure of justice for Munich. The mastermind gone, his networks crippled. Erica, back in Israel by January 24th, debriefs in a quiet Tel Aviv safehouse. The operation is hailed internally as a masterpiece of patience and precision, the harmless neighbor delivering the fatal blow. But the human cost lingers. Innocent lives lost in the blast, the moral weight of proximity to the target. She requests no recognition, no medal, just quiet reassignment. Her real name remains classified, the British passport left behind sowing confusion. Born in 1948 to a Jewish family with Holocaust scars, recruited young for her languages and composure, Erica Chambers, Agent Penelope, fades into legend. She lives out her days privately, the woman who watched from a balcony, invisible until the moment she wasn't. The cycle of retribution pauses, but never truly ends. In the shadows, Mossad's women continue their work, unseen, unsung, the sharpest edge of a nation's survival.